You've had a previous speaker or two, or some of you might be familiar with the organization. I often refer to it as having begun 37 years ago, which is basically correct. But it's probably more correct to say it really began at the turn of the century, when a little boy from Lebanon, he was 10 years old, went to work for the Spanish merchant marine. He came from Lebanon, a very devout Christian country then, very heavily Islam today. But he came from a very strong religious background, Roman Catholic. Working for the merchant marine at 10 years old is not really unusual at the turn of the century. Often children went to work as soon as they could. That's one reason we have child labor laws in our country, because of 10-year-old boys doing the work of a man or two. But that's what this man, his name was Mahfoud, M-A-H-F-O-O-D. He worked about 10, 12 years till he had enough money to immigrate to the New World. He didn't come to the U.S. though, he came to Canada. Near Montreal, there's a very large Lebanese community. There was then, and there still is today. And there he met a girl, they fell in love and got married. And decided they wouldn't stay in Canada. They didn't want to come to America because minorities were not really that well received as they had perceived. So they went to Jamaica. And in Jamaica, he found some menial tasks. But he was a man of great ability, very inquisitive mind. Actually, two kinds of people I have a great admiration. I have a great admiration for a lot of people. I like farmers and I like sailors. I've been a sailor myself for over 30 years for the Navy and Reserve. But I like farmers too. Farmers are very self-reliant. You know, if the tractor dies in the middle of a cornfield, you don't call AAA Tractor Company, you go out and fix it. If a sailor loses a sail, you're out in the Gulf Stream, you better have plan B. You're going to cross the Atlantic and end up someplace in Europe. Well, this Mahfoud, he had that ingenuity. And he was tinkering with a lot of different things. Can you hear me all right? Is the speaker working here? All right back there? Okay.
The DVD is not working.
What's that?
The DVD is not working.
Oh, the DVD is not working. Okay, well, if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's not that critical. I'm just showing pictures. But when Mr. Mahfoud began to tinker with things, and he became a friend with a man in Havelock, North Carolina, who had developed a soft drink. Now, there was a soft drink company called Coca-Cola in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm sure you're all familiar with it. You remember the fiasco back in the 70s about now the new Coke and the old Coke? Most people don't know the history behind that, but the problem was that Coca-Cola was using cocaine. And finally, the FDA said, get rid of the cocaine or we shut you down. That would destroy Coca-Cola. But there was another soft drink company called Pepsi-Cola. And they were headquartered, really, it was a pharmacist who came up with that formula many years ago. And this Mr. Mahfoud learned to know that pharmacists, they were good friends in Jamaica, and Mahfoud started a soft drink company called Bibble Soft Drinks. And then he also began a shipping company. And he was shipping his soft drinks and also coffee. He developed a new strain of coffee bean. And it's called Green Mountain Coffee of Jamaica. It's a world premier coffee today. And he developed a little sunfish boat, made a little boat with a sheet for a sail, and he was peddling his coffees and his soft drinks to the islands in the Caribbean. That's the beginning of Essex Shipping Company. So he's got a soft drink company, he's got a coffee company, a world premier coffee, he's got a shipping business, and he became very wealthy. Later on, he got into plastics, then he got into steel. Multi-millionaire. This little Lebanese boy went to work 10 years ago. He had 3 sons and 1 daughter. And this family don't start the day without going to the Lord in prayer. You finish every day when the sun goes down with evening and family devotions. He never varied from that at all. And he instilled in his children, we have no wealth. The Lord has blessed us immensely. But none of this money is to be used by any of you for your personal use. This is only to help other people. The money that we have, we earn. But all this foundation money goes to help other people. And they developed a work ethic that's a lead. The oldest son made a trip to Haiti 37 years ago. And he discovered abject poverty. He found children dying of starvation. He found babies on the garbage dump. And this so troubled him, he didn't go to work for a month. He studied Scripture. He wrote some books on Scripture. And he began to haunt him, why do we have all this money? What is that for? And what did my daddy want me to do with it? And he went to Publix grocery stores, one of their big customers for the Essex Shipping Company, and said, you throw away a lot of food. I know, because we support you. Our shipping company brings you a lot of food. Whatever you're going to throw away, give to me. I want to give it to people who are poor. In the Caribbean. Because nobody was working in the Caribbean. We were doing a lot of work in Africa, a lot of work in India, but our neighbors to the south were not receiving any help from us. But then he found out, Publix told him, we can't give you the food. We cannot give research for food by our State Department regulations to third world countries in competition with their own companies. But he'll give you a 100-pound bag of rice. See what you can do with that. Go feed the world. That's sort of sarcastic. And so after about a month in prayer and devotion, he took that 100-pound bag of rice and was on the streets of Haiti trying to help people who are in starvation. 37 years ago. And out of that came a loose organization called Food for the Poor, within the context of the church. He said, there are two kinds of bread, and people need both. They need bread for the soul, but they need bread for the body. You can talk all you want, but that is not feeding empty stomachs. And also you need, not only the bread, you need water. Clean water. Water that doesn't make you sick and cause your death. Just as you need the water of salvation. They go together. They do in all of Scripture. Jesus himself says, he who drinks of me will never thirst. He who drinks of water and bread will never go hungry. When you think about the miracle of the 5,000. They had been with Jesus a long time. There were 5,000, more than that. We're told 5,000 men, include women and children, but more than that. And Jesus was preparing to proclaim to them a message. And yet he knew they had been with him a good part of the day. They're hungry. He told his disciples, feed them first. I can't preach to people on an empty stomach. They need food for the body. And the disciples said, we can't do it. We have no food. There's a little boy here, you got some bread and some fish. But you got thousands of people here. Jesus said, feed them. Don't argue, you know who you're talking to. Feed them. We're told that they fed them all. And then they had many baskets of food left over. Trust the Lord, He will provide. He will provide the resources. Body, soul. And yet in our neighborhood, in the Caribbean, in Central America, what does a mother do when there's no food? Now here's an area where we as Americans, certainly in my situation, I really had no experience with abject poverty where people die. I thought the worst experience of my life would be carrying a gurney with a body from a battlefield to a helicopter and not aware if it was dead or alive. It's horrible in a war context. Until I got washing on the garbage dumps in Guatemala City. The garbage dump in Guatemala City is about 15 miles long and about 5 miles wide. Burning all the time, toxic fumes, young mothers with babies in a bassinet sitting down on the garbage while they're trying to find a piece of bread or some food to give to their children. That's horrible. To find also the skeletons of those children thrown on the garbage dump. Young lady with whom I was working one day, she looked like she was 95, and I found out later she's only about 55. Her husband died, and the general thing is just let's throw him in the garbage dump, let him die, let him bury her. She said no. He's been by my side all my life, and I wanted him to have a decent funeral. She was not a Christian. So I want you to go talk to a friend of mine. He's a pastor downtown in Townsville. Talk to him, and he'll have a funeral for your husband. After the funeral, he said, you don't go back to the garbage dump ever again. You have to, I need someone to clean my church. I met her some years later. She looked like she was 55, not 95. She was brought salvation by the love of Christ to this Anglican priest. When children are starving, there are so many things that either, I'm a slow learner, I understand that. But basically we in America have no clue how most of the world lives. We have no clue on what poverty is. Destitution. We have poor people. We have people along the streets. You know how terrible it is. Drive down Highway 5 in California, you see all the blue canvases and this sort of thing. That kind of poverty is in the upper percentage of the average in poverty countries. Nobody is dying of starvation on our streets. It's not an ideal situation. There's much to do to deal with poverty. But there's a difference between poverty and destitution. Destitution leads to death. Poverty does leave an empty stomach. But when a stomach is empty, again, that's an experience I've never had. I've been hungry, but not hungry to death. What does the mother do? She has zero food. There's no way to get food. Obviously no refrigeration because there's no electricity still in many countries of the world in the Caribbean. What the mothers do is go down to the streams and the rivers and scoop up mud and clay and make like a little cookie about this size. Maybe make 5, 10 of them. Put them on a sheet out in the sun for them to harden and dry. And so when a child is screaming of hunger, they break off little pieces of this mud and clay. What this is dirt. Dirt from putrid streams on the coast where the animals grow graves. They put a little sugar on it, maybe a little Kool-Aid if they can find it. Give it some flavor. That's what you feed a hungry child. It's in their system. And strange as it may seem, it works for a short period of time because there's something in the stomach. But there's something else right here on this little piece of mud and clay. You don't see it, but it's there. It's called bacteria, depending upon where they got the mud and the clay. And that little bacteria goes into the little children's stomach and causes the last condition to be worse than the first. Those are our neighbors, an hour plane ride from Miami, an hour plane ride from San Antonio, Texas, or Southern California to Mexico. That is starvation. We begin to see that. You see, from our abundance, we have to provide help. And that's what Philippians 4 is all about. Mr. McFood saw that condition and saw how his family had been so blessed. He said, we have to use our resources to help feed the people. And this is a Christian challenge. We have to go to the Christian brothers and sisters in America and ask them to help. 37 years ago, it began with that 100-pound bag of rice. Last year, Food for the Poor shipped out in resources to help poverty $1.3 billion. We've been over $1 billion for the last 5 years by God's grace, with no effort to grow, no effort at all to make an organization with business suits and 5-year plans and 10-year plans and bureaucracy. It's so easy. You see a little child is hungry, give him a piece of bread. Doesn't take great skill and organization to do that. You see here a woman pleading for some help with a child who hasn't eaten for a day or two. Find some water. So where do you get fresh water? You don't find it in the rivers and the streams. You find it in wells. We have drilled literally hundreds and hundreds of wells. We're building all the time in the 37 years in the 17 countries we serve. Right now we have large teams in the Bahamas. The Bahamas are not among our 17 countries. because they're not necessarily totally poor. But after the Hurricane Dorian, which wiped out the Grand Bahama Islands and the Avocos, immediately while the winds are still blowing, we have warehouses in Miami, in Cuba, not in Cuba, in Jamaica, in Haiti, wherever we're close by, bringing supplies immediately. And we will probably stay there for a couple of years. We have teams in Puerto Rico, not one of the 37 countries either, not one of the 17 countries. But we have a team still working in Puerto Rico. When New Orleans got hit badly, Food for the Poor was there with large containers of immediate relief, particularly medical supplies, even while the floodwaters are raging. And we will stay there until the job is completed, however long that may be. I was talking to a little boy one day. The little boy was in the feeding line. The way we do this in our country is we don't have a place where people come and have a dinner. They all have been visited by our social workers. They're all computerized, generated. They have to come 3 days a week or 2 days a week. They don't come every day. They bring their own conveyance, their own buckets, their own pails, and they are authorized so many dinners. And then they take those dinners home with them and feed their family. And I was dishing out rice one day, a little boy came in front of the window, and he held up the sign that said 5. That means he gets 5 servings. 5 servings of rice I put in a pail. Then he next week put in 5 pieces of meat, usually it's pork. Then he put in 5 different kinds of veggies, or 5 individual veggies. They get some bread, they get a drink. And then they're on their way and they go home and feed their family. I was getting tired. I don't do this motion often. My arm was tired. So I took a break and I went out in the courtyard where there are hundreds and hundreds of people waiting. It takes all day. We start feeding at 11 o'clock, we feed till 5 o'clock. Time from all over the countries. And there was this little boy. I had just filled up his pail of food. He was sitting there just staring. And I said, I see you're not eating any food. Aren't you hungry? He said, yeah, I'm hungry. Well, why don't you eat? He said, I can't. What do you mean you can't? He said, today's not my day to eat. The girls eat 4 days a week and the boys eat 3 days a week, and today's not my day to eat. I said, oh my goodness, I've never heard of that. So I went back to the window and I talked to the lady relieving me and I said, give me a plate of food. I got a new friend out here. So I took the plate of food and I said, here, this is for you. I want you to eat this. I understand you want you to eat it. And you're not cheating anything for your sisters, okay? They're still going to get their food. He took a little morsel with the rest in his bucket. I said, why don't you eat the whole thing? He said with an edge in his voice, I can't. I don't ever cheat on my sisters. And I touched the conscience, my conscience. Here is a man who's more concerned about his sisters than his own hunger. And I found out that is so common. I was having lunch in San Salvador one day in a school that we support. Now, when I have lunch with kids in the schools, that we support over 900 schools with food, with computers. We don't pay their whole budgets, that would be prohibitive, but we provide tremendous support, a lot in books and materials and computer stuff. And I was having lunch with a group of kids, but when I'm with kids, I never eat food. I give everything I have. I carry a lot of power bars because I travel a lot. Or pens and pencils, I give them all to the kids. And somebody had noticed my box of chicken hadn't been touched. A little boy was looking at my chicken. And I said, you want that drumstick? He said, yeah, if you're not going to eat it, I don't want it. He took the drumstick and put it in his pail. I said, what are you doing with that? He said, I'm giving it to my baby brother. The little girl across from me saw what was happening, and she looked at my bucket. I said, you want some of those chicken wings? He said, yeah. What are you going to do with it? I'm going to give it to my grandma. And I discovered in poverty countries how people take care of each other. I said, my goodness sake, my kids would be the first to give me a line. I want to get mine to get a drink. I want to do this. I want this. I want this. He said, I wanted to give it to a friend of mine, to give it to a grandmother, to give it to my brother. They are so generous with one another. They're all in the same boat, and they're all helping each other. It's an amazing thing to observe this in action. You know, it's just an aside. I realize that the suicide rate in third world countries is almost 0. The suicide rate in African America is rising dramatically and frighteningly among teenagers who have everything, but they have an empty heart that has not been fed with the bread of life or with any basic reasonable concept of their future. Wealthiest country in the world, that we face such problems. By God's grace, the Lord has led the hearts of many people to reach out to help the hungry, to help those who need help. P.T. Niles is a great, great missionary in India. And someone asked him once, he said, Dr. Niles, you're an eminent theologian. Can you tell me, from your point of view, what is the essence of our Christian faith? And he said, I'll tell you what the Christian faith has as its core. It's simply one poor beggar showing another poor beggar where to find the piece of bread. My good friends in Christ, you and I are beggars. I'm well aware of my need to be a beggar before God. And so are you. We are so blessed. And yet we are hungry for the Word of God. And we have been fed by God Himself. You see, I think in terms of that judgment day, and the text from which I'm speaking is Matthew 25, the great sermon which precedes the judgment day. It's the explanation of judgment day. When we stand before the Lord, and He says, I was hungry, you didn't feed me. I was naked, you didn't clothe me. I was in prison, you didn't visit me. I was starving in my soul, and you didn't feed me. And there will be those who say, Lord, Lord, when did we see you hungry? You starving? I go to church every Sunday. I never saw you starving. I ought to be in the first line. He said, no. Whatever you've done to the least of these, my children, you've done to me. And so often, it's amazing we think about Jesus Christ and His ministry. We like to think that Jesus spent so much time in the temple, He was very religious. Wrong. Jesus was at the temple when He was a young man. He sat with the scholars discussing theology. But Jesus spent most of His ministry with people. They're interesting people. He talked to a woman at the well one day. They had a conversation as they're draining water. And He said to the woman, He said, I know that you've been married 7 times. Which is against all Jewish law. And the man that you're with now is not your husband. But He didn't condemn her. He said, I'm not condemning you. But I am saying go and sin no more. Turn your life around. You're destroying yourself. Turn your life around. And many maintain with some good evidence, but not conclusive. That was Mary Magdalene, whom we consider to be a saint of God. Jesus was with the people, many of whom had been rejected by the religious leaders, rejected by people. He was talking to the multitudes. And there's a little guy up in the tree. He said, hey, Zacchaeus, come on down. I want to talk to you, little man. I know you're a tax collector. You've been cheating people your whole life. But I'm not condemning you. Go and sin no more. Turn your life around. Turn your life around as a child of God. And one by one, Mary and Martha came and said, our brother has died. And Jesus wept. But He said, I can fix that. For He will live among you. And He called him forth from the grave. One by one, we think of the works that He did, the miracles, and also the stories that He tells. I want to tell you about some of the stories. We call them parables. And Jesus was a teacher. And He did not use what we call cognitive thought processes. He told a lot of stories. That's what the parables are. The children that I minister unto all the time, they love to hear stories. Some of you know about the Archbook series. You Tell the story of Jonah and the whale. Tell the story of the Good Samaritan. Tell the story of the farmer that goes out to sow his seed. Jesus is always speaking in day-to-day illustrations so people can understand. And when we talk to children, it's very difficult to talk to older children. They've already been influenced pretty negatively by their poverty. The younger the better. To find children on the right path, because they can get caught up so easily in voodooism, as some of their parents are. Voodooism, which basically is a religion of multi-gods who are fighting. And they're fighting against the evil of humanity, and people have to be obliterated unless they become voodoo. If you go and talk to somebody who's illiterate about the love of Christ, they will run away and go to the voodoo priest and have incantations. In ancient times, they even sacrificed their children. And we see the results to some degree of voodooism, sometimes on our coast in South Florida. And you'll find it also in San Antonio, Texas, and San Diego, where voodooism in Central America is still alive and well. Any false religion, they haven't learned about a God of grace and mercy and love and glory. And that's what we're all about. Not only telling the story, but showing it. It's one thing to tell people that Jesus is the bread of life, but when their stomach is empty, you also give them some bread. That's what Jesus did. Not just spiritual, but actual bread. When they're dying of thirst, give them some water, pure water. Again, stories that Jesus so often talks about. He is the water of life and the bread of salvation. This little brochure that's in your bulletin, I wanted to make a comment about that. If you would like to leave an offering as you have in the past for food for poor, you can take this little perforated line that makes an envelope, and you can put money in there. What you have to do is just take a check and sign the bottom right-hand corner, and I'll fill in all the blanks for you. I'm a little facetious when I talk about money in church. I don't like to talk about money in church. People see a need, they respond to it, how they're going to respond to it. You can try to use a credit card number, you can give us cash, you can do anything like that. If you can do that, you're still motivated to do it. If not, that's all right too. We just ask one thing that you can't do for food to poor, and that's keep us in prayer. And we live by prayer. We don't live by the world success standard. We live by prayer. And we follow the prayer lines as the Lord Himself leads us. So I'll stand at the back of the church after we have the communion now. And you can give me an envelope, or you can mail it in. Easier always to give it to me because it's out of sight, out of mind. But I want to say thank you for letting me have the opportunity. Evening hour, I could talk for the next 3 hours, you know that. But I think you get a picture of what food for poor is about. And some of you have been supporters over recent years. And so in that spirit, with P.T. Niles, we remember we are all beggars before God. But it's Jesus Christ who tells the Father. When we stand before God, I can say, God, I started a lot of missions in your name. And He'll say, I don't even know you. Get out of my sight. Or when I was president of the Elder Mail, or whatever, maybe I don't know who you are. And then somebody stands up and says, wait a minute, Father. I know that woman. I know that man. I know that child. I gave them their name in the waters of baptism. And the Father says, oh, they are yours. Yes. They are those who stand in need of forgiveness. And the Father says, the doors are open. Enter into eternal rest of glory. Why? Not of what you did. It's what Jesus Christ has done. And to see Jesus as the center of our lives is the greatest gift we have. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Please rise as we continue with the lifting. Brandon, offering. We'll do that.
Wait till I get back to the screen. Steve.
You're fine. Take your time. me get where you were, unless you close it out. Okay, scroll over now. Right at the HRs. No, not too far. Right before that. Keep going. Go again. Now you go back the other way. I guess they've taken that out. Okay, so you all don't have to let me.
Well, it should be in there, but it's not.
I don't see it in there. Should have been before the giving.
Unless it's before, no, it's not in there.
Okay, we'll continue with the time of giving. If you have a prayer request, please fill one out and we will raise those to the Lord in prayer. Please be seated. Please rise for prayer. Heavenly Father, we praise you. Lord, we thank you for the blessings you put upon us, Lord, and give us, Lord. And we return these to be used by you, Heavenly Father. Father, as we come to you, Lord, with our prayers and petitions, Lord, we give thanks, Lord, that you're able to bring us here tonight, be together, Lord, to hear your word. Lord, we ask for you to continue